Trap Media USA. Shout out to everybody tuning in this morning. It's fight week. We got Terrence, Bud Crawford, Omaha, Nebraska. Showtime, Sean Porter, Cuyahoga Falls slash Akron, Ohio. Saturday night is fight week. And I was listening to the boxing voice, and he was interviewing Cameron Duncan. Bud's former manager, who he had the lawsuit and all that with, and Boot's current manager slash promoter. Well, he said he switched to promotion because he can keep fighters a little bit longer. So let's get straight to the point. I've been championing the IBO the last few days. Well, I say the last week. Just studying the history, studying the different policies, their stance on fighters testing for banned substances, their algorithm based rankings. It's not human and opinionated. One champion per division. The IBO has just historically done everything right, and they haven't gotten a fair shake in boxing. And as we've seen with the WBC convention, where they saying Canelo pretty much won't have a mandatory period, the franchise built from Loma to Canelo, the WBA rivalry with Fox, it's just overall bad optics, bad policy, biasness. It's just a lot of stain on boxing that these other sanctioning bodies are carrying out, and they're not getting the proper backlash to the point where fighters are walking away from these belts, where they are considered a minor body. They like to consider the IBO, but they're committing all the major infractions, and the IBO is getting left on the outside when all the greats have held the IBO. So it was good to hear Cameron Duncan say in 2022, a lot of people's new favorite, Jaron Boots Ennis, will be leading the charge for the renaissance of the IBO championship because he will be fighting for it. And I hope his opponent for it is none other than Blair the Flair Cobb. It's the perfect matchup. Philadelphia, we know what Philly means to boxing, from underground boxing to mainstream boxing to boxing on the big screen. What better place, a all Philly affair, to bring back on America's first year, I believe. Um, Liberty Bell. It's just when you think about America, you think about Philly. So what better when you think about boxing, you think about Philly, Rocky. What better place to have an all American title bout to lead the charge for the renaissance of the All-American belt, the IBO championship, than everybody's new favorite American prospect contender, Jaron Boots Ennis, versus his nemesis, Blair the Flair Cobb, who just ran down on him on his standout breakout performance that led the likes of Magic Johnson saying this guy is next up. Everybody is going to be tuned in, but you need a guy like Blair the Flair to make it for real. You don't just want a regular no name against Boots Ennis for this belt. Blair is going to sell the fight. He's been in there with Devin Haney. We've seen that sparring. All of you guys that think Devin is so good, go look how good Blair the Flair did. Go to Blair the Flair's Instagram. See those knockouts. Go on Instagram. Blair has the size. Blair is familiar with Boots. Blair is also a Philly native, West Philly. IBO, do not drop the ball. I understand that you got Boots going for the belt, but you need the right opponent to really stamp it. And I just don't think there. I think Blair is a better talker than Rowley. Rowley was put in that position for his talking, but at the press conference, he didn't really come across like people thought that he would. Blair is not going to disappoint because he's older. He understands this business. He has the experience and everything that you need to sell a fight like this and to lead the renaissance for the IBO championship. Blair is going to bring that to the table along with Boots' talent, his skill. You're going to have all of Philly behind it, and all of America, especially Black America, is going to be behind it. So don't slip on this. One downside to that interview, I'm guessing because of past business, he said it's not realistic to see Boots Terrence Crawford. So if that is the case, Boots just needs to stop saying Crawford's name because there's no point when Cameron Dunn. I'm guessing the split was just so bad that he doesn't want to do business. He stepped out of boxing for a little while, and I'm guessing that had a major part in that. So he probably the same way Charlo was kind of done. Well, he's a little bit in that same space, but he had invested in Bud. So with a lot of fighters leaving him, he now has Brian Norman and Boots, and he's just restocking and rebuilding. Has a great eye for talent. um, I think that's a definitely a interview you want to check out. Cameron Duncan, if you can get in contact with him, or just pick his brain. What is he looking for? If you're a promoter, if you're a manager up and coming, to be able to find talents like Bud and Jaron Ennis, and now Brian Norman, who he also confirmed the sparring with Terrence Crawford and Norman, and said he was getting a bunch of phone calls saying that Norman got off. Norman did his thing to the point that Bomac even had to call him like, man, can y'all not put that out there? Don't put that out there. So a 20-year-old prospect did his thing. We keep hearing all Bud this, Bud that, Bud this, Bud that, but there are holes in the game, and that's something I want you to keep in mind for this fight Saturday night. That you can have it all. Most guys had it all against Deontay Wilder, but he was still able to find a way. You know, most guys had more a better jab, better footwork, better technique, better defense, but he was still able to find a way. But he also said that Boots, Brian Norman said Boots is the best fighter in the world. He had sparring with Boots, and he just was like, man, Boots really gave it to him. So this is a honest conversation. He's really just putting it all out there. He said Castillo Clayton was also on the table for Boots, and he expect Boots to fight in the unification next year, because just because you get the IBO belt, because it's not recognized by the other bodies as a major belt, it doesn't take you out the rankings for the other belts. So he will get to fight for the IBO, possibly get the IBO, and then fight one of the other big champions towards the end of the year. That's great news. I'm happy. The IBO Renaissance has begun. Stay tuned. Get your popcorn. Jaron Boots Ennis is bringing the American Championship back to America and bringing the prestige, the respect, and the honor that should have been put on it for all of these years, especially with all these other bodies, sanctioning bodies dropping the ball. We're getting ready to see a renaissance of the IBO championship. I'm happy. Support American championships over everything, American sanctioning bodies over everything. Trap Media, USA, drop your American flags in the comments. We back. I'm out.